working together is gonna be legend. Wait for it.
Durkle. It's a new episode of Zero Life, a weekly talk show. I'm Sean. This is Barrett.
Baking pancakes, making bacon pancakes.
All right.
Get some bacon.
That's enough television
into
references.
Pancakes.
I can do one Rick and Morty. For people that don't know, Eek Baba Durkle, who thinks I'm like just saying I don't know, something mean in another language.
Yeah.
It's just some bullshit Rick and Morty made up.
Yeah, it's a Rick and Morty goof.
Excuse my language.
And my goof was an Adventure Time goof.
Never seen Adventure Time. Like
Adventure
I've
Time-
tried to watch it several times and I just could not get into it.
It's one of those things where like I definitely dropped in and out of it, but I think I paid attention for the most part to like sort of understand what the overarching like story was. That was something I always liked about Adventure Time. It was one of those weird shows where you could like pop into an episode, just watch it, and be like, oh okay, this was fun, and then totally like check out. Or if like you stuck around, you could pay it off by like this really cool plot.
Very similar to Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls is another show that does that, and Gravity Falls related to Rick and Morty.
Well,
cool.
I don't know if that's 100%
100%
confirmed.
No, there is one scene that is definitely 100% in both episodes.
What's that YouTube channel that you watch? Rick and Morty Theories.
Oh, it's Film Theory.
Yeah,
with
Film
Matt
Theory.
Pat. He has a great episode that like outlines it, but there is like a definitive proof that their universe is intertwined for at least one scene.
Yes.
But
That's true.
That's not what we're here to talk about today.
No, we're not.
We were taking the notes before the show, and we have so much to talk about.
Yeah.
Most importantly, Force this up. I'm just kidding. Barrett, you've been playing a game about a mug boy.
Yeah. I want to talk. We'll talk about Cuphead later.
All right. Well, you lead the show then. What do you want? All right.
First, this is a weekly talk show every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on YouTube.com/ZeroLife and SoundCloud and iTunes and all the podcast services you can find us on.
Except Spotify.
We're not cool enough to be on Spotify. Not yet, anyway.
I get it.
Yeah, it's cool. Whatever. So, yeah, it's been a pretty busy week. I finally watched Blade Runner for the first time.
I was supposed to watch Blade Runner.
And then you bailed out. And the reason you bailed out wasn't even worth it. So.
Nope. But it's okay.
Yeah, so Danny, Woody, Fred, and I watched Blade Runner. And I think Danny had seen it before. And I think it was Fred and mine's first time seeing it. And
it's prime Harrison Ford.
Yeah. So going into it, I don't want to ruin anything because you haven't watched it.
I'm going to watch it later.
Yeah. So I liked it. I enjoyed it. And I went on Twitter and I put out like Blade Runner was fascinating. It was like weird and stuff. And it hasn't aged well. That was the one thing people were focusing on. So if you follow me on Twitter, you saw that tweet, you probably thought I said, Blade Runner sucks. I refuse to see the next movie. I'm going to protest it. Harrison Ford is the worst. That's not what I said. I said it was fascinating. Thought it was like weird and cool, and the cinematography was beautiful. But that film really has not aged well. There's just like
bad effects, or is it weird?
No, like the effects are fine. It's like acting and editing. I would say they were like the two like biggest outliers there. The acting was definitely like there were 2 or 3 scenes we were talking about this afterwards that Woody pointed out that were actually like, oh, these are solid, like they give solid performances. There's basically these interrogation scenes. There's like 2 of them.
Yeah, I know of them.
Yeah, and like the first one is basically the opening scene, and that was really cool, and the second one is also really cool. But everything outside of that, I feel like is very like poorly directed, almost of like telling the actors like what their motivations are, or like why they're saying something. It felt like a lot of people, like a lot of the characters were saying something without like really knowing why they're saying it, or like what, like it did for them. It didn't seem like it made much sense in like context wise, like why they were saying it and stuff. There's like just like a lot of weird like acting beats and stuff, but I think that's just, you know, a time of the 80s, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And
it's definitely watching movies from back in the 80s is always like watching it with a great assault.
Exactly.
As much as I love like T2, they're not like Oscar-winning actor performances. They're funny and they're great, and I love those movies. And it's like most 80s action movies. Like, it's just the way that they kind of are.
Yeah, and then
it's a medium that's evolving.
The editing, like the video cuts and whatnot, were very. They made scenes feel disjointed, and I think that might have been on purpose. Whoa, that was scary.
Sorry about that.
I think they were doing that on purpose to give like the film tension, but like I already felt the tension without like these weird cuts that like made scenes feel disjointed and weird, and like for that it actually took me out of the movie. So yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I'm excited for 2049. And I was getting a lot of hate on Twitter, or like a lot of crap
on the internet.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. Marty Sleva responded, and I think a bunch of people saw his response and just started tagging.
That's what always happens, man. Somebody from work is like, very valid criticism, and then one of his followers is like, die.
No, Marty Sleva responded with, "You hasn't aged well." So I don't know if that.
That's a very typical Marty response.
So a lot of people were like, "Oh, like you didn't get the point of it. Like it's not supposed to have this like huge like story and whatnot." I was like, "No, I got it. I understood it. Like it was cool for what it was, and I know how important it is in science fiction, the science fiction genre in film. Like I was down with it, but there's just there aren't parts of that movie that age well. Like you just got to accept that for the time. You know, it was the 80s, and a lot of movies from back then don't like age well.
Yeah,
and hold
100%.
up. Like they're still fun, they're still enjoyable. I still liked the movie, but you can't always look at things with rose tinted glasses and be like, this is flawless. It's like, no,
it's not Back to the Future. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And on that same note, I am very excited for the next Blade Runner. I do intend on watching. It's getting phenomenal reviews.
Yes,
we give it a 9.7 at work, which is mind-blowingly high.
I'm
which
very
says
excited.
a lot about the universe too. Is that you could come back to a movie 17 or 25 years later, 35. Well, holy crap!
Yeah,
4 years old, and it could still be this universe that people care about, and it's fleshed out
this
well.
is the other thing. I don't know if there's like other like content, like comics, if they made out of this, and like people are like, "Oh, the universe was so cool," and for me, it was like, it felt like they didn't really build the universe that well in that movie. Like, yeah, there was an opening scrawl, which
very 80s.
very, very 80s, and it basically all it did was explain like, hey, there's a lot of robots that look like humans. I was like, okay, cool. And then they talk about like all these off-planet like sites and whatnot, and like working like off of Earth, and all we really see is like the dumps of LA, which is like
iconic shots, by the way.
Iconic.
I love the visual style of this movie.
Yeah, and I feel like the visuals definitely help build the very little of the universe that we've seen. Mm-hmm. But like for people to say like, oh, this world that they've built is so cool, it's like, well, we've seen like 10% of LA. And like the climax of this movie happens in a very like old, creepy house that doesn't even look like it belongs in that universe. And it was like just really, I don't know.
But
like
to a lot of people, that was probably their first science fiction movie. So it was like seeing
I've
shots
seen,
of LA like that. You and I have grown up in the age of like
a bunch like iRobot.
CGI generated. I was gonna say iRobot too. That's so funny. CGI generated beautiful.
Yeah. And like
features.
one of my first science fiction movies actually was Akira.
Really?
Growing up, and that
what a good one.
Yeah, and that and like Neo Tokyo, like that's
it's
like,
about to explode.
So that movie was an example of like being able to create a universe with only like looking at one city, right? And so with Blade Runner, I don't think they really succeeded in that. It's surprisingly short too. It was like just under 2 hours. Why does this keep?
It's gonna be blinking like that. We don't know why.
We don't know why. That's technical
Speaking
difficulties.
of Akira, I watched Danny Juarez cry at a comic book shop yesterday when he found a Cowboy Bebop Spike action figure.
Hell yeah, dude!
Man, I've never seen a man so happy.
I also cried when I saw a bunch of DC figures.
We went there last week, and you're like, I can't be in here.
And then we came back, and I got this red hood.
So you put out a tweet about Blade Runner that got a bunch of people all mad at you.
Yeah.
And I put out a tweet about the might of multi-tool in Destiny guess what?
Made a bunch of people
Got
mad
a
at
lot
you?
of people real mad at me. So right now, for those of you who don't know, Destiny has a problem with its meta. Not necessarily a problem, but 42 or 38, something like that, % of all kills in multiplayer are with the Mida multi-tool.
Okay.
And for those of you who aren't giant nerds, that's a kind of a problem for the meta because it's sort of boring. It's the Mida meta, or like Trials of the Mida is what people are saying. Now, I've recently, as of last night, found a weapon that dropped that's better than Mida.
Ooh.
It's a scout rifle that just consistently outperforms it without a doubt. It's just
Was that the 3-shot burst one?
This is just a one-shot, higher impact, higher range scout rifle that just 4 shots everybody in the game.
And he won't tell you the name until you buy a shirt.
Or you follow me on Twitter at Sean Twister. That's my pin tweet. So now I'm only bringing this up because I tweeted out the Mida meta isn't fun.
Yeah.
And people were like, first of all, Mida's not even the best weapon in the game. To those people, yeah, I know. I played 100 hours of the game this month. I'm aware of what the best weapons in the best weapon in the game is the Last Hope. This is really nerdy, but I'm gonna get through this.
You're gonna get through
I have to push
the
through
minutia of Destiny.
Yeah. And then everybody else saying that like it's not a Mida meta. If half of or like almost half of the people are all using the same weapon, and Bungie has announced that they're not gonna buff it or they're not gonna nerf it. They're just looking at it right now. I do think it's a little bit of a problem. It's not that it's the best weapon in the game, but it's the easiest to use at an extremely high efficiency.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are going to be using it. And I just said it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
You
were like, oh, this sucks.
I didn't say it was
whatever.
broken, even though do I think the Midas broken a little? Like I think that team shooting is broken. The TTK on it is a little high for group shooting, which is like kind of what the game wants you to do right now. But like I did find like last night, I made it my mission to not use Mida at all. Yeah. And I had a great time.
That's good.
But we still needed to use Mida to go flawless in trials. So, I mean, Griffin didn't it, but he's like some cyborg man.
Griffin, how do you say his last name?
Gucciaroni.
Cyborg man?
Yeah. So I just wanted to point it out for the people who got mad at me. Yes, I know there are better weapons than the Mida. I'm just commenting on the fact that every time I get into a fight, the other person's using a Mida, and that's not very interesting especially with the way that Destiny takes away your abilities. Kind of like you only get like a couple of grenades throughout the game, and you only get one super a game. It's not that fun to just be like dink, dink, dink every goddamn fight. But I digress. I just wanted to bring that up.
Change it up a little bit, Destiny.
I just want them to nerf high caliber rounds because the real problem is that high caliber rounds rattle your screen when you're getting shot and you're like bouncing all around, and it just is not a very fun engagement.
Yeah.
I was gonna make a bunch of really bad jokes, but I'm not going to. But I'll make them off camera to you.
Okay. Great.
Never mind.
I've also been reading Dark Knight's Metal, which is the new DC event.
That's the one where they start a band, right?
God,
like,
I wish.
Batman's like a sick bass player like Flea, and he's like really way too into it, like Pete Wentz.
So it's this new event happening in the DC comic universe right now, headed by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, who made the New 52 Batman run, who designed this boy right here, who eventually turns into the Joker. And
is that before he like fell into the? He looks like he ate half of a like Dr. Mario pill.
He was playing Dr. Mario, got stuck in like the little little machine. Yeah. All right. This is his story is like leading up to him falling into the vat. So I've been reading that, and I'm really excited because Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder are my boys. I love New 52 is my favorite Batman run, and we're only 2 issues into the main event, and it's really cool so far. Basically, there's a dark like they're expanding on the multiverse, and they've revealed that there's basically like this dark universe. And that's basically made up of just pure evil. And then there's this character named Barbados who has been sort of targeting Bruce Wayne since the beginning of time. And he's using Bruce as basically this portal to bring people from the dark universe to their universe to take over. And because he's been targeting Bruce Wayne, he's using sort of like Bruce's nightmares to like create these enemies. And so at the end of issue 2, spoilers for Dark Knight's Metal 2, they like Bruce Wayne is turned into this portal, don't know if he's alive or not, and then all of these like really messed up like evil
Batman.
Batman come out, like, and they're all
Oh, I
different
saw that
versions.
tweet.
Yeah. The best one is the Batman Who Laughs, which is like the Joker Batman, who has 3 Robins like on his chain, and they're all, like they all scream crow. Like while beating people up, and then like when they're introduced, and then the Batman Who Laughs like comes in and he says bar, sort of like making fun of Jason Todd, and
damn deep cut.
And and then you just see like all of the different evil Batman, and it's really cool, and I'm really excited.
When you said Barbados, though, my mind instantly went to Futurama. Like Barbados Slim is fighting fighting Batman. Like
Barbados Slim.
Sorry, I can't take it seriously. The art style for that looks really cool.
Yeah,
I've appreciated that. I've posted some of their covers. We get them at work from Joshua's team. And so I post them sometimes.
Yeah, the art style
Very
is like what makes it for me, and the same for New 52. Like that's what brought me into Snyder's and Capullo's run of Batman, and so like when this is over, I'm going to be sad again that they're not going to be working together probably for a while.
I have a great segue, and it's why I like hosting the show, but Barrett's going to shut it down. Speaking of art style, you're playing Cuphead. What do you actually want to talk about?
Yet.
I want to talk about Cuphead!
We'll talk about Cuphead in a bit. Next thing I want to talk about is the sad story of trying to get a Super Nintendo Classic.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't find out until 2 days before Friday that I wasn't getting my pre-order. And it wasn't Amazon's fault. It was just a miscommunication between some people. And so I found out that I wasn't getting a pre-order. And I was like...
Cue the violin, post Barrett.
I was like, damn. And then so on Friday morning, I went late to work and I went to 3 different stores on the way to work to try to pick one up. And because Nintendo was swearing, like, oh, they're going to be plenty of stock and go in and pick one up.
We're Nintendo and we actually hate you.
And I went to all 3 places and all were sold out already.
Nintendo's like the guy who invites you to like this amazing party, but he doesn't tell you there's like a $150 cover. So you show up and you're like, what the hell, Nintendo? And he's like, sorry, bro, I didn't think it was going to be a problem.
Yeah, like, but he's like also like the one who like hits you up and is like, hey, like, let's go hang out and party and like get really drunk. And then like you show up and his like apartment's like really crappy and like that's where you have to hang out. And he doesn't even have cable, and then he expects you to buy the beer. Yeah, so, that was a really specific example. I'm sorry. So
damn. So one of your elementary school or not elementary, one of your high school friends is like, damn, he really was upset about that.
So. Yeah, it bums me out. Like I really wanted to play Link to the Past again. Like that's one of my favorite games of all time. That's the best Zelda game.
I don't understand people's love for Zelda. I really don't get it. Like it does not make sense to me. I'm glad people love it so much, and I like watching people love it. But man, I do not get it.
And I wanted to try to play Earthbound for the first time.
Cool.
I wanted to play Super Mario World.
I want to play Super Ghosts and Ghouls. That's the only. I want one just as like a Ghosts and Ghouls emulator. I was playing it. So one of our good friends, Brandon Hunt, got it, and then like, man, the controllers feel great. Yeah, they feel like, man, they feel really great. And he was playing Punch Out. Fun fact, he's like a messiah at Punch Out. Yeah, he was just like tearing people up.
That's very much a game where you like learn sort of the rhythm.
You're good at it
visual
forever.
cues.
Yeah, you're just good at that game forever.
Yeah.
But I picked up. He left. And he was like, hey, you want to play? Because he was going to a meeting, and I was already done with most of my work for the day. Yeah. So I was like, yeah. So I sat down and played Ghosts and Ghouls. And Sam Claiborne, one of our he's like amazing at retro games, came over and was like, wow, you're like surprisingly very far in this game. And I was like I was halfway through the second level. And that's just tell you how hard that game is. Yeah. I was halfway through the second level and people were like, wow, you're pretty far. I ended up getting to the 4th level on my first set of lives, which is like, that is far. Yeah. How
many levels are there?
8, and then they make you replay the game with the worst weapon in the game. It is... I've only beaten that game twice, like with the act, because like you go through the entire game, it is horrifyingly hard. Yeah. Then they make you start the game over, and you have to use the princess's necklace to go through it, and it is like the worst weapon in the game. It is. And they're like, hey,
is it legit just a necklace that he beats people with?
It's like this little. It's terrible. It's a terrible. It's a terrible weapon. Yeah, so I've only ever been able to do it. Or does he choke people
out with it?
That'd be way better, like Solid Snake style.
Yeah. I don't understand that reference.
Speaking of Solid Snake, there are prequels The best Solid Snake game is Metal Gear Solid 3. And speaking of prequels,
No, that's until later.
what is wrong? I need to run a show beforehand, all right? I can't be dropping these dimes of transitions.
The next thing, Golf Story. Golf Story. I played about an hour. It's cool. It's the top-down golf RPG game exclusively on the Switch.
Can we play it together?
I think there's online multiplayer.
That's Tom.
Yeah, I think so, but I've only checked out the story mode. I'm about an hour in. It's cool. I'm still trying to sort of learn like how far the gauges actually mean. So because every sort of golf game is different. Like I had to do that a little bit for everybody's golf of like, all right, if I hit a little under like 100%, like how far is that actually going to get me? So I'm still sort of learning that. The story itself is like it's like goofy. It's fun. Like you're sort of this washed up dude who's trying to sort of get into the golf like pro game to sort of like live up to your dad's memory and stuff. So it's fun. Like a bunch of people are like really mean to you, which makes for some fun, silly dialogue and whatnot. But I haven't really played it enough to get like a full sort of opinion about it yet.
Yeah, I was asking if I should buy it.
Yeah.
How much was it? That game should be $20.
I think it's 20. It's either 20 or 30.
20? We're getting to the big 2-0.
Yeah, we're getting the 2-0 from Big Danny Boy over here.
Big. I'll have you know he's a very normal size.
Not big. Like he's like big in our hearts. You know?
Yeah, okay, good. Just making
He's a
sure.
big boy, you know?
Don't body shame on this podcast, all right? God damn it.
So, Golf Story feels very easy, but let's talk about a game that's very hard.
I hate you. I'm trying to transition into this guy. All right, it's about cups.
Yeah, it's a game about cups and heads, and it's called Cuphead. This game's really hard, and I've played everything, literally everything, except for the final boss.
And that's not because you can't play the final boss.
I just gotta wait.
You have to wait to do it at work.
Yes. So I've gone through every platforming level without killing anybody to unlock black and white mode, which is super hard. I've beaten every boss besides the final one, and this game it's living up to like more of what my expectations were. I remember talking about this game on one of the very first episodes of BZG like 2.5 years.
Yeah, keep plugging that dead YouTube channel.
No, I'm just trying to give a time frame.
I'm just kidding.
So like 2.5 years ago, so we were talking about this game and how we were so excited for it, and like now it's finally out. And like throughout all of that time, I've been championing this game of like have it come out. I don't care if it's only on Xbox or PC. I will find a way to play it. And
you didn't know at the time you'd be working at IGN and just be playing it on one of our consoles, but that's funny. It looks cool. I mean, visually.
Yeah, it's
gorgeous.
Oh,
and it's
fucking
always
pretty.
Gonna be visually gorgeous.
Yeah, that will be a game that like stands the test of time. You know, like because it captures the 30s, 40s cartoon art style so well. It's just like. It's always just going to be gorgeous.
That game must have been a nightmare to make.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it might have been Danny or someone else who told me it was like all hand drawn, which is crazy to think about.
I feel
like every
Zach
single frame
that.
and like sort of like character sort of movement. And it's just like it's so beautiful, and I think it runs at 60. I'm not like a great site for
I haven't played it. I'll only know if I play it.
But like there are points where like it does feel like really smooth, and you're like, damn, like
does it get framey at all?
So this is one of the things I wanted to bring up is if you've been playing the game for a while, and I think I was running into this problem doing the sort of pacifist runs for the platforming levels, because you basically have to sort of like break the logic of those levels to get through it. I was getting some like just like frozen frames, not like too significant, but it was just enough for me to notice. Like going through, so I think it was just because like I would play a level like 50 times in a row, trying to like sort of break like the tempo of how fast I should be moving through this level and stuff. So I think that point it did get like sort of framey, but besides that, it like runs really well. I think there was also another time like after playing for like 5 or 6 hours in a row, and I think it was just because of like how long the game was open and how long the Xbox was on. I think it started to run a little slower, but besides that, like it's so great, and it runs so smooth, and it's really fun. Like the entire sort of this game, I don't think is as hard as people are making it out to be, but I still think it's really hard.
It's the Dark Souls.
It's the
platformers.
Dark Souls of platformers, because we can't think of another term for hard games. But it is very much like you have to sort of fail the first 15 times facing a boss, because you have to sort of learn the rhythm and each phase of a boss. Like
Is a boss its own level?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want you. I was wondering if it was like Mega Man, where you play through an entire level and then you get to a boss and then you have to play marks you, and then you got to play the whole thing again. No.
So there are boss levels, and then there's only 6 platforming levels. And I feel like the platformers, like, again, it's very similar to the boss fights, where it's like you sort of have to die a bunch of times to sort of learn the pattern of how things typically play out, but sometimes it changes, right? There's a lot of bosses that, like, a lot of bosses have at least 3 like phases that you have to go through, and maybe for one phase the boss can do 5 different things, and like sort of each time you play through it, like they can switch it up and stuff. So like you have to play through it a couple times to learn, like, okay, what are all the different things he could do in phase 1? Okay, he only does one thing in phase 2, all right. And then phase 3, okay, you might do a couple things here. And then you have to sort of try to find the best way to not get hit. Because you only get 3 hit points for each level. And that is the most challenging thing, is to not get hit, because there's so many things to focus on. One of the, like, there are a couple, like, flying levels where you're, like, in an airplane. Yeah, in an airplane. And you're shooting. And there's one with a robot that I was having a lot of trouble with, where at the last phase, like, sort of bars would come down and you have to, like, sort of go lower to the screen, but he's also shooting like 50 pellets at you at the same time, so you're avoiding all of these pellets while making sure you're going to the bottom of the screen and then going all the way up to the, like, top of the screen. There's just, like, a lot of cool things that, like, there's just a lot of things you got to focus on. And, like, I think, like, sort of the best tips if you're struggling is to, if you're having trouble with, like, a certain part, like, go through it, get to the part that you're having trouble with, and just don't even try to beat it. Just look at, like, sort of the pattern of how things are going and try to, like, figure out, like, how things move and, like, how much space is in between, like, certain enemies, to sort of figure out, like, what kind of rhythm and movement you want to have. Because there was a certain boss, there's a dragon boss at one point. And at one point, I think it's his second phase, he brings out his tongue and all of these fire dudes start coming out of his mouth. And a bunch of them, or like every once in a while, one will jump up and try to, like, spring out at you. And you're on these cloud platforms. And I was having a lot of trouble with that because I was focusing just on Cuphead bouncing around on all the platforms. Mm-hmm. And then at one point, I actually, like, decided to look at just the fire dudes and focus on Cuphead out of the corner of my eye jumping on the platforms while shooting the dragon, so I could focus on, when a fire dude jumps, which direction is he jumping, like, based off, like, his animation, how far do I think he's going to jump, and then sort of go from there while still controlling Cuphead out of the corner of my eye. There's just, like, a lot of, like, little stuff like that you have to, like, get used to, and sort of, like, experiment with. Like, there's a bunch of different, like, gun types that you can explore with. Like, there's, like, the regular pea shooter, and then there's, like, a green one where
it
auto aims.
Cool. I saw you using that last night.
But it isn't as strong as the pea shooter. There's, like, a couple other ones I haven't really used.
There's, like, a pink one that shoots like this.
Yeah, there's, like, that's, like, the 8-round burst thing, but it's, like, really, you have to be really close for it to, like, take effect. And, like, there's a bunch of different charms. Like, the one that I use is, like, the dash, but you, like, sort of, like, poof in and out so you don't get hit, because with the regular dash, when you dash, you can still get hit, but with this one, it's a really good, like, defensive mechanic of, like, if you think you're about to get hit, you can dash, basically teleport. And then there's a couple other ones, like, for the platforming stuff, like, I turned on my super that, like, could make me invincible, but, like, for the when I can't kill anybody, my super doesn't load, but there's a charm that makes the super automatically load. So there's stuff like that, like, you can just experiment around with.
That's cool. I love having different builds in games that, like, It's
all, like,
something
you
that
get-
I'm doing in Destiny right now, where
Yeah.
I have a different armor set for PvP because I want specific perks on my PvP armor set that I don't care about in PvE.
Exactly. And like, I think this is definitely a game where like everybody's mind works differently, so you just have to like figure out sort of like what works for you, you know. So like there are definitely bosses that I like to use the tracker thing because I can't really focus on
Hitting the shots.
like hitting the shots perfectly. I need to like sort of focus on these balloon dogs sort of chasing me or whatnot.
I
So
saw you playing the Ghost Train last night.
Ghost Train, so that's the sort of final boss before unlocking, like going back into the casino, and yeah, that one's really tough. And they're like these. So the first phase is like there's a ghost and he's shooting eyeballs at you, and then there's like pink soaps that are being dropped down to like sort of move your cart back and forth. And then the second phase is like this big skeleton man. He's like trying to hit you. And then
it turns into a big locomotive and it's like walking with big legs.
so the third phase, actually, there's two big, I don't even know what they were, but I think they were like pieces of an engine, and they pop out, and there's like two of them, and there's like these ghost guys coming at you that also drop pink things that can move your cart around. And so that for that part, I did the auto aim just because I needed to focus on like where these ghosts were, and I couldn't just focus on just shooting. And then like the ghost of the train, like sort of walking around like a dog at the end.
That's super cool too. Visually, it was very cool.
Yeah, and
the game is very, very interesting looking.
And we were watching, I think, Game Ranks, like before you buy or whatever.
Yeah.
And one of his he mentioned that like he wishes there was an even easier mode here, and it was not because like it's too hard, but like to sort of be able to just like for younger kids who might not be good at games because
they're
kids,
Yeah.
so they can enjoy this game, and also to like every once in a while be able to enjoy the art style. Like I've definitely found moments where I can enjoy it, but like maybe like once or twice after going through a boss, then I'm just like stressed out. Like, how do I do this? How do I do this? Like what? So
it's been very relaxing for me and Danny. Just come in here, we're like, you're smoking 5 cigarettes, playing through, like, damn, how did that happen?
I'm like putting smack in. I'm like, I gotta stay awake. I felt really bad. I like for downstairs neighbors and for you guys last night. It was like every 5 minutes you just hear me yell, "Fuck!"
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
So yeah, that was like my night. Just because the unlocking black and white mode, which is basically you have to go through the platforming levels
And
without
not kill anybody.
without even shooting your gun. You can't even shoot it.
Dang.
So
tough.
I accidentally shot it off at one point, and I got through the rest of the level, and it didn't give me the grade. I was like, "Damn it!"
That's really tough.
Yeah.
But
So those were super stressful, but I really love this game. It's blowing my expectations out of the water, and it's easily like top 5 game of the year for me.
cool, a contender,
Yeah.
better than Zelda.
I'd have
We'll
to
talk
think
about
I
that
don't-
in December. Tune back in.
Yeah.
So
Don't
what's
watch an
next?
episode until December. Don't do it. Keep coming back.
What's next? What are we talking about next?
So-
I don't want to transition into the wrong thing.
The next thing I think you wanted to talk about was you got to go flawless again. In Destiny.
Yeah. I helped Youssef get through the raid for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
We beat our record for going through the raid. We are down to an hour and a half now.
Okay.
We went flawless on our first try, beat the Prestige Nightfall.
Yeah.
Danny, Fred, and I literally did, and Griffin did everything you could do in Destiny in about 5 hours on Friday. And it was like, okay, well,
we beat the game.
this is it. We all hit max level, and we were, except for Fred, and we were all like, all right, well, that's it. We did it. We
Yep.
are the best at this game. And then we just kind of like have been dicking around ever since. It's good.
Do you think you're gonna take a break at all?
No.
No.
I mean, I just hit 104 hours playing this month.
Man.
And I don't see me slowing. Here's the thing. Now it's the fun stuff where I don't have to run the Nightfall every week.
Yeah.
I don't have to do all this stuff because I'm max light and I have all my weapons at max level. So I could just kind of chill out and play the game, like jump into competitive or jump into quick play with Griffin and Fred for 3 hours every night and just like
Hang out.
practice.
Yeah.
The thing is that I get good at, like, I'm naturally pretty good at shooters, but I get very good at shooters because I practice a lot.
Yeah.
And I understand, like, I shouldn't take this engagement. I should take this engagement. I shouldn't use this weapon here. I should use. So, like, I'm at the point now where I can finally sit back and just start studying the game and figure out, like, how to be even better at this game.
Okay.
Plus, there's a tracker that I have that tracks my KDA in game, which is nice, and I like watching that go up. So I've got it up 0.5 points last night from getting that new scout rifle that I just never lose in fights anymore to Mida.
Nice.
When you have a gun that just basically counters the best gun or the most used weapon in the game, gives it a lot more fun. Let me tell you, because every time I get in a fight, I'm like, oh, you're dead. You don't even know. Like
You don't even know.
you shoot somebody and 40% of their shield goes away in one shot, and they're like, like all of a sudden they just try to run away.
What did I do wrong?
They're like, what hit?
I had the multi-tool.
Yeah, people were like, what hit me? But I did want to talk about briefly. New Macklemore album came out last week. Listened to it about 11 times, give or take. Well,
So I'm guessing you like it?
Yeah, I do. I think it's Tim put it the best way. This is like Macklemore just selling out.
Oh dang!
But it's good. It's like that's not a
But it's like good selling out.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's like it's kind of like when you need good pop music too, and you need good pop rap. It's so like all the songs are fun. There's a couple of serious songs. I think Fire Breather is incredible, and 10 Million is incredible, and they're both super arrogant songs. So like no duh, I like them. But like Macklemore talks about like selling 10 million albums, and I think it's cool. And like he's like, I don't have to open car doors anymore. There's like a bunch of really funny lines.
So this is the bragging album, basically.
Yeah, this is basically the like look what I've done album, because like and he's having fun with it, and I think that's the most important thing. Where it's like you could see Macklemore's having fun, and I enjoy that.
I usually don't like those albums in any genre. Like the one where like we can't do no wrong, blah blah blah, and then because usually the next album is really bad.
Well, it's one of those things where he's selling out in the most Macklemore way, because every one of these songs has a feature, and most of the feature
Is it because he's still going to the thrift shop?
No, it's every one of his songs has a feature, and most of those features are not big. The exception of like one person. Okay. Every one of those is like an up and coming artist.
That's cool.
So he's featuring 14 up and coming artists or something like that on his new album.
I like that. That's cool.
So that's
still like trying to like he knows like the struggle and like
yeah,
trying
that's
to, like, bring up
Macklemore's way of kind of giving back. Like he's found it, and I enjoy that. Interesting tidbit: this is not a Ryan Lewis album. Ryan Lewis wanted nothing to do with this album.
Huh.
They are split creatively.
Okay.
But Macklemore, like 2 months ago or a month ago, best man at Ryan Lewis' wedding. So they're still best friends.
Okay.
He just Ryan's on to doing other projects for smaller artists, and like
Wasn't
he's
didn't
rich
he do
now.
Didn't he do that Bruno Mars song?
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just like you listen to the album and you're like, yeah, I get it, because this is really just like Macklemore fucking going nuts.
Yeah.
And like I said, he still has a couple of really interesting songs where he talks about his daughter, which I like a lot. The last song on the album is pretty powerful. He has a great line where if you don't love your life, a check won't correct that. And I think it's really powerful. So he still has a couple of powerful messages, but for the most part, it's just like
having fun.
Look what I did! I drive a white Cadillac with a purple inside. It's called Willy Wonka. It's really funny.
That's good.
So I think you should, if you like Macklemore, you should check it out. I think it's infinitely better than his second album. I think his second album is like not very good.
Okay.
I think there's 2 good songs in the second album, but like
yeah, I don't remember people really talking about the second album a lot.
It was exactly what would happen if I had to try to come up, or if anybody had to try to come up with a second album to The Heist.
Okay.
I said it before, like The Heist is an immaculate album, and it would be really hard from a hip hop perspective to come back, and like that's like trying to follow up Illmatic. They're not on the same level. Illmatic obviously way more
better.
important.
Yeah.
But especially like Same Love and Thrift Shop and 10,000 Hours, like that whole album is amazing.
So that's cool. I'm glad there's new music out for you. Still waiting for new music out for me. The Front Bottoms album I think comes out soon. I know they come here in early November, and their album comes out sometime before that, so I'm excited for that.
Interesting. I listen to that band every once in a while.
Yeah, they're good sad boys. Real sad boys.
That's the thing, is you're just sad more often than I am.
Yeah, so. I am.
And I'm always
sad
like
all the time. That's why.
I'm trying not to be as sad, so I listen to like happy music.
No, I don't like that.
You know me. Kyle's new album coming out soon. Really excited for that. He tweeted about it like a couple of days ago.
That's cool.
So
the last thing we really have to talk about that'll segue into a bigger topic is Red Dead Redemption 2. The new trailer dropped last Thursday by the time you guys are watching this, and I really liked it. I thought it gave like some cool sort of obvious hints of it being a prequel.
Are there obvious hints of it being a prequel?
Yes, so they do mention the I forget the gang's name, but basically the gang that was sort of torn apart by the end of Red Dead 1. This is the sort of gang that you're in, and you're the muscle. There is a theory that this actually takes place like sort of in between the end and epilogue of Red Dead, which I also do like that theory.
Still never beat Red Dead.
Oh man,
I know what happens.
Gosh. Well, anyway, like there is a scene in the trailer where he's talking to a kid and he's saying to the kid like, "I'll keep your mom in like
In black,
like basically keeping her mourning." And there's a theory that kid is actually John Marston's son before he like grows up and you get to play as him and stuff, which I like that theory. But yeah, I think this one really showed like sort of the tone of this game, which is just more badass Western cowboy stuff going on.
Yeah, watching it, it was like you put up either you or Danny brought up a good point where this is like Rockstar's first PS4 game.
Yeah,
where it's
like GTA 5 doesn't really count.
Built for the ground up to be on PS4.
Yeah,
at least I think it is. So that's pretty cool.
Yep.
I'm excited to see what they do with the more power, and I mean they always find
it already
a way.
looks like super beautiful.
They always find a way to just milk whatever they're using to get the most out of it. And there's not enough good cowboy games out. Like they just don't exist.
Yeah,
so
it's like the last one was Red Dead.
People are afraid of the cowboy genre because of Red Dead. Red Dead came in and was like, "Hey," and they were like, everyone else was like, "We don't want any of that." Look at that thing.
I do like sort of this time around like. John Marston was sort of like this lapsed bad guy in the first one, right? Like they made him sort of do that. That entire story is basically because of his past crimes. And I like in this one, you play as this guy. Apparently, this was the character they showcased the most, at least, was this guy named Mr. Morgan, who seems like the muscle for this gang. Like at the beginning, he like goes up to a drifter and he's like, "Hey, so saw your name on the ledger and stuff. He's like, can I eat your food and all this stuff?" He's like sort of being a bully. And I think it's interesting that if he is the character that we are playing as, that we're sort of playing
as the bad guy.
Yeah, in the moment as the bad guy, which I think is really cool.
And that's like not necessarily a change, but I almost feel like Rockstar characters I'm like looking off because I'm trying to think, are always like fighting the fact that they're bad guys. Mm-hmm. You know, like Trevor, except like Trevor's a psycho.
No,
like,
Trevor's like a complete psycho.
But he's a psycho though.
He doesn't.
It's not like
he doesn't sigh like He doesn't really push that away of like the fact that he is crazy.
But I think he's like mentally ill.
Yeah,
is the point of it. Like you're not playing someone who's choosing to be bad very often. Like, yeah, there's like Franklin and Michael were like they did bad things, but you know Franklin is like trying to come up in the world and doing what it takes, living in the hood, and Michael is like this retired mobster.
Yeah,
who's like away. You usually play from people who are away from that life.
Yeah.
Like maybe Tommy Vercetti, but even then, like I feel like things get out of control for him.
Yeah, and like even like in Bully, like you play as Jimmy, who's like not even trying to start anything. Like,
yeah.
It's like all like the different gangs that are trying to start drama with you, and you're sort of just like going through the motions of
Nico is a similar thing where he's like an American immigrant who's like just trying to survive in America. This is like I'm a bad guy.
Yeah, which I think is really cool.
I have a great jawline, and
because it's still called Redemption. That does make me think at one point you will turn against the gang, and that you will like try to like take down the leader and stuff. Just because it's still like the fact that it is still called Redemption. There's got to be
I think they did
a
that for the
redemption
trolls.
arc.
They did that for the trolls, man.
No,
they were like, actually, it's Red Dead 3, and Rockstar was like, no, it isn't. It's whatever we say it is.
I honestly think it's like Rockstar doesn't even need to pay attention to that. I don't think they named it because of that. I think they named it because they honestly think this is like, all right, this is like the second redemption story that we have to tell. And I honestly think that's going how it's going to play it.
That's probably right.
Yeah.
I just think it's funnier the other way.
Yeah.
I liked Red Dead a lot. Like I said, I think it drags a little in the middle.
Yeah.
And
definitely like going into Mexico.
I hit Mexico, man, and I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Unlike Fred, who's a psychopath and skinned every animal that game's ever had. Fred is out there skinning stuff left and right, but
like in real life,
all the time. It's terrifying. That's why I'm afraid. That's why I'm gonna get his own apartment. I don't want to live with him anymore. He's just skinning stuff all the time.
You wake up in the middle of the night, he's like right there.
Yeah. Anyway,
with a knife.
He platinumed that game.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
A lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I could not handle platinum in that game.
I'm really excited to go back to this world. I'm excited to see like how they update the mechanics, like the slow motion gun and all that stuff to make it feel a little more modern. Because our friend Joshua Mobley like went back to that game recently and he said like the controls don't hold up.
Makes sense. Game's like 9 years old.
So I'm excited to see like sort of what they have to update, what new sort of things that you'll have to do. It seems like in the trailer you like rob a bank or like do something in a bank, like the cool like shot of him and he's inside and like a bunch of like safes or something are exploding. It'll be interesting to see if like there's a lot of that, like if they found
I want to rob a train.
if they found so much success with GTA 5 with the aspect of robbing things that they just sort of put it in here.
Well, that's
and
the thing.
and that this is the best sort of type of world to put it in. You know?
That's the thing where it's like that is something that is uniquely Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Where like those heist missions are so cool and it always have been. Like the big whole world is chasing you feeling that you pretty much only get in GTA. Like I always say like driving around with 6 stars or 5 stars depending on what game you're playing in GTA is one of the most fun things. That's why that game is so successful, because like never before I was trying to explain this to our friend Cisco because at work he was doing the best PS2 lists, and number one on the best PS2 list is Grand Theft Auto 3.
Yeah.
And he was like, really? Yeah. And I was like, yeah. Like, you don't even realize that had never been seen before Grand Theft Auto. An open box world on console like that was like a world that reacted to what you did to it like that, to the point where you had the army chasing you at 6 stars and you're like driving through in the Ferrari, like going from island to island, like. And then you can just get in a plane, like mind-blowing. Yeah. Mind-blowing. As that's something that's uniquely, it's something Grand Theft Auto has given to the world. Like Rockstar was like, hey, this. So like robbing a bank and then having like 40 horses and stagecoach chasing you would be awesome. I don't know how you.
There's got to be a train robbery scene. There's got to be one.
You can't spray paint your horse, so I don't know how you get out of that. But I mean, but yeah, I want to rob a train. I think that there's so much like. I want to fight a giant mechanical spider too. Like, let's get Wild Wild West in there. Let's get wild.
Let's just get crazy.
Let's get wild. I've stroked. Wild.
So Red Dead 2, a couple connections of like how it's a prequel. Like the gang's still there. The leader of the gang also looks like significantly younger. That was like also like the really big thing. Yeah. So
prequels are tough, man. Like so the greatest example of prequels, Star Wars. When you say the word prequel, I mean, like, when you say the word prequel, that's where people's brain goes to.
Yeah, that's true.
You flinch, and then you think about...
And then you think you're going to get hit.
The episode 1 prequels.
Yeah.
Which are bad.
Yeah, they're not good.
Not all prequels are terrible. In fact, some of them are incredible.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to you about, what do you think the best prequel video game is? And there's a right answer to this question.
So, I haven't played the answer that you're thinking of. I legit, before this episode, went through the entire list of prequels, like prequel games, and I only found 2 that I've played.
Oh my god! What were some of the ones on the list that you saw?
I don't remember.
I hate you. I didn't look at a list. I only have one answer to this question.
The two games were Halo Reach and Batman Arkham Origins.
Batman Arkham Origins, widely considered the worst Batman game.
No, I think it's the best story, hands down.
But
I think like,
it's widely considered to be the worst one.
Yeah. Whoa, that came out of nowhere. So I think like that story I think is the best story out of all of the games, and I think people were just disappointed because the gameplay didn't expand out of Arkham City. You know, they were looking from that big jump, like the big gameplay jump from Asylum to City was so huge that people were expecting another big jump from City to Origins, but I don't think a lot of people understood it was a different studio working on it.
And we never got that jump because the next jump was Bat Tank, and that sucked. Side note,
good.
Oh, come on. You're going to go with it was good?
The gameplay itself was fine. It didn't belong in a Batman game.
Yeah, okay, fine. Whatever. The Batman, when I needed the Bat car to open a door, I was like, what happened to the man in Arkham Asylum? What happened to that Batman? Who could open every door he ever wanted to? He didn't need a car. Side note, did you see the Rocksteady tweet?
No.
There was a tweet from one of the guys, like one of the lead developers at Rocksteady. It's not from Rocksteady. Okay. And it was, I know a lot of you want to hear what we're working on, but we can't say just yet, but you will be excited. Or something like that. And then he tweeted a picture of Terry McGinnis.
What?
Terry from Batman. No, I'm just kidding. He didn't tweet that part. But the first part of that tweet, completely true.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so Gaz at Rocksteady. Be patient, fans. I know we're not talking right now, but when we do, people are going to lose their minds. Can't wait. God.
I knew that
Dude,
would
it's
going
to be Batman Beyond. Please let it be Batman.
I think it's going to be like a
I'll
Superman
poop my pants.
game.
I'll poop my
pants.
pants.
But it should be a Batman Beyond. If it is a Batman Beyond game and it's stylized correctly, like almost like cel-shaded open world Batman Beyond game, I would actually break down into tears. Like I would, like I you know that scene of like Tobias in the shower just sobbing.
And, like,
that would be
just open
me.
his mouth.
Yeah, like that. I can't think of something I want more than that, other than maybe an impeachment of the 45th president. Like it is like, and they're like neck and neck, man. If someone was like gun to your head, I might be like, I don't.
Batman
Man,
Beyond?
we might survive this, and if we do, we get a Batman Beyond game. Like I think it's a win-win. That's a gamble, baby. Like it's definitely one of those things where I saw that tweet and I instantly was like, man, I hope that it's. People are saying it's going to be Justice League. People are thinking it's going to be Superman.
I don't think you can make a good Superman game.
I don't think it's a good
possible.
Superman game either. I really don't think. I 100% believe you.
Yeah.
What do? Take all his powers away so he doesn't punch people into the
So
goddamn
so
stratosphere?
it's
every
not
time
even
he
a
hits them?
Superman game. It's just called Man.
Yeah.
You play Man the game, and it's not.
You get
and
your
then
special-
and you have to walk through rings this time.
You
Fuck you. You'll still play it Rocksteady coming 2019.
There's no stealth that you can do with Superman.
Yeah.
It's like Superman like sneaks up and melts someone's face with his laser beam eyes.
Superman is like the least stealthiest person on the planet,
Yeah.
even off the planet.
He doesn't have to be. Nothing hurt. Did you ever see that YouTube video where Batman and Superman are talking and Batman's like, I did this and then because of that. And it was Superman, he was like, you know what I would have done? Flown really fast and shot all the bad guys with my laser beam eyes. And it's like, yeah, we get it.
So what is the best video game prequel of all time?
Snake Eater.
Is that like the intro song or something?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh God,
Then-
Snake Eater's soundtrack is wild, son. Let me tell you, there's a scene in that game where you climb up a ladder for 3.5 minutes just so that they could play the whole anthem of the game.
That's good. I like that. It's a good bit.
They were like, you start climbing this ladder. Scene. You start climbing up this ladder, and then in the distance you hear like, and then you hear it faintly as you climb the ladder, and then it like comes in when you're halfway through the ladder. It's like blaring through the speakers. It's like one of the greatest moments in video. You know what? Post Barrett, cut to it right now.
I give my life, not for honor, but for you.
And we're back. It was incredible. Like I know that you're loving it. Danny Juarez knows because he's played it, and it's so incredible. Also, there's moments in the game where you meet characters that are going to be in later games, like Revolver Ocelot. Before he's Revolver Ocelot, he's just Ocelot.
Yeah.
And he like gets knocked out, and you can just shoot him in the face with a gun, and then it ends the game.
Oh, dang.
It says time paradox, game over.
Huh.
So it's like there's so many little ways where it plays with the past where
Yeah.
there's not a smarter prequel. There's not a better prequel. As far as it's the best Metal Gear game.
Okay.
Like I think it's 100%. I'm getting the thumbs up from Danny Juarez.
But
Big Metal
not
Gear fan.
4. You love 4 a lot.
I
though.
love 4. I personally love 4, and I think 4. I had to like Danny Juarez and I were talking about this the other day at lunch. I had to sit down and really like put my feelings aside and be like, what is the best Metal Gear Solid game?
Yeah.
And it's 3.
Okay.
Then it's 1, and then 4, and 2, and then 5.
That's how some people need to put their feelings aside and realize that Blade Runner didn't age well.
Yeah, well, maybe. 3 is just this from a story perspective. It like makes so much sense. It like it builds this universe so well, and if you play through that game, you understand why Big Boss turned his back on the American government. Like you get it. You 100%. I would have too.
Yeah.
When Big Boss like walks away, you're like, yeah, that's
Get it,
you,
son.
You damn right. Like they treated people like because like you find out that this thing they forced you to do this thing that you did not need to do, and it's like scarring for him.
Okay.
And it just builds this. You start for the first time as like this Snake that's not a proficient murdering machine. Like Snake's good, but he's not like there's someone out there who's just better than him.
Yeah.
And she's Boss. You're
yeah.
naked Snake and she's Boss. And when you kill her at the end of the game, spoilers for a game that's literally 14 years old.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this because we
You
talked about this
become-
in our saddest moments in gaming.
Yeah,
history.
you become Big Boss. And when you become Big Boss, there's just so many little moments in that game that build the universe, and then the ending fight with Boss is incredible, and how they force you to kill her.
Yeah.
Like the game does not end unless you hit R2 and shoot her. You can just sit there forever. Yeah, and then it turns out like that you meet Ocelot, and it sets up Eva's story, who they all come back in the fourth game, which is why I like the fourth game so much. It's like the fourth game is like the latest season of Game of Thrones. It's just fan service.
Yeah.
Fan service. It's everything you wanted Metal Gear in Metal Gear game. But Metal Gear Solid 3 not only is arguably the best prequel ever, arguably the best Metal Gear game ever, I would say it's top 5 greatest video games of all time.
Interesting.
Like I think that that is Kojima's masterpiece above
Almost
all else.
as good
If you say Donkey Kong 64, I will slap the teeth out of your mouth.
as Donkey Kong 64, boys.
Cut.
That's
What's your favorite prequel? Let us know in the comments below.
Yeah, there you go.
I will answer every. No, I won't. But Barrett will. Barrett
I'll
will.
look at them. I'll respond to them.
I'll
And
look
if
at
they're
'em.
not DK64, spam. We're marketing spam.
Listen, Blessing. Calm down. All right.
So we have every week we go to you, the Twitters, and we ask you if you have any questions for us for the show.
Every week that I remember, I do it.
First question comes from Clint Gilmore at Clint_G. Did you guys finish American Vandal yet? Also, what realistic changes would you like to see for Destiny 2? You already talked about sort of changes you want to see.
Real quick, changes in Destiny 2. Real easy one. Nerf high caliber rounds. That is the only, and maybe make the Last Hope a little bit not as strong. Last Hope is like absurdly strong.
Have you finished American? We talked about American
No.
Vandal sort of in length, at least from my perspective, without spoiling it last week. But
I'm on episode 6.
Okay, how you liking it?
I'm on the Mackenzie theory.
Okay,
Miss Shapiro is the worst.
yeah.
That show is unbelievable.
I
Like,
know!
Honest to God, I was saying this the other day.
This
I
is
was
why,
like,
I don't regret saying that it might be the best Netflix original.
no, you're right. It probably is.
Yeah.
It is so good. Every time I'm like watching that show, I keep it on in the background when I'm editing, and then I'll like catch myself just watching it, and I have to turn it off because I'm like,
Yeah.
I have work I have to get done. But it's so good. I can't believe that performance
From
Dylan
Dylan,
and
yeah.
like.
Even the kid, like even the no-name kids, like are awesome in it.
I keep forgetting I'm now watching a real documentary. Like, if it wasn't the most absurd thing, like
we
care.
heard a story from our friend Zach Ryan, who was talking about they were watching like the first 2 episodes, and his friend, who was like, Zach was explaining, was like a really smart dude, like good head on his shoulders, just like smarter than me. We were watching it, and like his friend was like, "How'd they afford that drone? Is that a drone shot?" And like at the end of the episode, they're like, "You knew that was a mock. You knew that was fake, right?" He was like, "Oh, well, that doesn't make it as funny then." I was like, "No, it makes it like
it's funnier." It is unbelievable. Like, I really
can't wait for you to
stress it.
finish it.
I hope I find out who drew the dicks. I don't want to say anything, but like,
Who did the dicks, guys?
I'm so invested. Like, I can't believe how much I care about every little thing. When they get kicked out of school, I'm like, how dare, it's a cover up. Like, I'm like freaking out.
I was about to make a really bad joke, but I'm just going to steer away from it. Henry Montero at Henrysaurus asks, does Eminem have any relevance in today's culture? No.
Eminem.
No.
Listen, I was listening to 8 Mile in the bath earlier.
Yeah.
And that bangs. But I think that Eminem is, the times have passed him.
Yeah.
Lyrically, he's incredible, but he has nothing left to say.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion. His last album was bad. And I think that I'm grateful for what he's done for me for hip hop, and like opened the door for white kids to like hip hop, make it easier for us. But I think unless he really, maybe with Trump he'll have something to say, or like he was really great when he was political against Bush.
Yeah.
Like that was height of Eminem, is when he had Bush to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
But I don't think that he's relevant, and I think that his style of rap and his like how he degrades people and uses the like says like his gay slurs that he uses and stuff like that, I think that they don't belong into his culture.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like he's definitely been stuck in like an
90s.
era. Yeah. And
He has a Jamie Lee Curtis reference in his latest album.
Yeah, it's like, what?
People don't even know who that is anymore. Like I do, because I love Halloween. But
Yeah. It's like, yeah, she's coming back to the new Halloween movie, but like besides that, like what? And yeah, I think like it was fun to see his comeback with like I'm Not Afraid.
that was awesome. That album, that entire album is great.
Yeah. And then like after that, he really just like, because that was a successful album for him, because he was like doing a lot of drugs before then, and he was like, he gained a lot of weight and all this stuff, and like that was his album. Then he came back and he was like clean, and he like got healthy again and all this stuff.
Recovery
and,
albums are
yeah,
great.
and it was really good. And then like after that, I feel like that was sort of his like swan song of
He
like
had
things
something to say.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Proof had just died,
yeah.
and he had a message he wanted to get out there that you can recover from things when your life gets really bad. And I thought that was noble.
Yeah.
And I think that album is great.
Yeah.
But his next album, it was one of those things where like, yeah, he had a great moment in his album where he apologized to his mom. And I think that was cool. And I think the sequel to Stan is cool.
Yeah.
But I think he's still very like mentally, I think he's not well. But he's worth $640 million. He has a beautiful daughter. He owns one of the most successful record labels in the world. Like,
It's true.
he has friends, I'd assume, and like, why you can't tell.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you got left to be so mad about, man.
Yeah.
Like, personally, if you're still that mad, like, I don't know, you are the exception to everybody.
So Eminem, maybe not so relevant. Eminem's timeless.
Nah, man,
Think about
overrated
it.
trash, man.
Bucktown at Emperor Bucktown asks, who is your favorite James Bond actor?
Pierce Brosnan, because he was mine. He was my first.
I'm not really into James Bond.
Actually,
so
I like Daniel Craig. Because I like
the
Casino.
only James Bond movie I've ever watched was, besides GoldenEye, was Skyfall, and I thought it was one of the boringest movies.
I like
ever watched.
Skyfall, and I like Casino Royale's unbelievable. But Pierce Brosnan is like, that's the movie. Because I like GoldenEye so much, like the game, I think probably Pierce Brosnan.
So you got just two more questions.
I have
here.
questions on mine.
Yeah, those are the
yeah,
ones that I'm looking at. So Andrew Francis at King Franchise 88 asks, Flatliners currently has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Do you believe something can actually be so bad that it has zero entertainment value?
No.
Yeah, I don't know. It's because we were talking about this the other night at Ramen, I think, with like Danny, Fred, and Woody and I, where it was like, a movie can be bad and enjoyable. You got like Plan 9 from Outer Space. You got The Room. You know, you have those movies where they're so bad. It's
you hit
like
parody level.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but I do think they're like, from my perspective, the way I look at it is like when something is so like, when so much money is put into something and it flops so hard and it's critically slammed, there is like a question of like, what was the point? You know, it's like you wasted so much money that could have been spent on another project. You know, so that from like an artistic value, it might have been good for the experience of everybody involved, but from like a business perspective, it's like, yeah, what was the point? This movie wasn't for anybody. You know, so
I just argue that 0% someone went and saw Flatliners and loved it.
yeah, that's true.
And they didn't go to Rotten Tomatoes and they didn't say it.
Yeah.
So that's just like, no, I think that there's always people like I know people that legitimately like The Room for not parody reasons. Like for one reason or another. Like,
Yeah.
you know, so I think that, do I think that Flatliners is good? It's probably terrible.
Yeah.
And it's probably a waste of money. But people that were working on that movie probably tried really hard.
Yeah, exactly.
At least somebody on that project.
Again, from like an artistic
Yeah,
like,
at
side
least
of it,
somebody
like,
on
I
that
think.
project was giving it their all. Maybe it wasn't
Yeah.
the editor. Maybe it was the editor. Maybe, you know, like maybe it wasn't the writer. Maybe
Yeah.
it was the writer.
Things just didn't come together. You know?
So, but I think that definitely somebody saw that movie and wants a sequel.
Yeah.
You know, so
For
because that's how I know people that liked King Arthur so much they wanted a sequel.
Yep.
You Seth?
Yeah, you Seth. You weirdo. We love you. We
You're
miss
allowed, you're allowed to like whatever you want.
Taylor Long at TLongX18. If you've heard of the Forza 7 loot boxes, how do you feel they will change, ruin, help other loot boxes in other games? I was trying to do some research on this, Sean. Forza 7 has these, they're loot boxes, but they're not calling them loot boxes. It's very weird. But essentially, from what I understood, it was right now they're not. You don't have to pay actual money for them, but I think at some point that will change. I couldn't I was reading this whole argument like about it, and I couldn't really understand besides the fact that it will change to like you have to like pay money to get like the specific currency in the game to buy these things. Like why it was really different. From what I understood, it was still like just cosmetic stuff and whatnot. So like if it doesn't like sort of
I care about cosmetics.
No, I know, but I think like I'm sort of fine with that of like the sort of random drop. It's basically a form of gambling, and like I usually just don't do that. Like I usually stay away from it. Like any sort of like in-game purchases I would have to make, unless it's like a first show thing, right? Like I will pay to get Red Hood in Injustice 2, you know, like stuff like that.
I pay $5 a month to I play $5 a paycheck to Destiny. Like I just get it's the same thing I used to do with Overwatch. Like until I got everything I wanted in Overwatch.
Yeah.
But like if I'm enjoying a game and I pass the $60 mark, I will consistently give that game my money. Yeah. Basically a form of subscription. Just because
especially with a game like Destiny where they like are always making new content.
So like I buy a Bright and people are like, you shouldn't buy shaders and blah blah blah. I'm like, you're right, I hate the way the shaders are and I wish they did it differently, but I didn't make the game. Yeah. But I love the game. Yeah. So about every week or so I drop $5 on Bright Engrams.
Yeah, like I think for cosmetics I honestly think it's fine. If it's something that like pushes ahead, like
if you could only get the Mida by paying $5 extra, and then I'd be fuming. I'd also buy a Mida, but I'd be fuming.
So honestly, like I read a bunch about Forza 7. I honestly don't know if it's really like changing or ruining anything in that area. The one thing I am interested about is Shadow of War. They announced this months ago was the microtransactions were going to be in Shadow of War at one point. And everybody was like, what? Why? But there is a multiplayer that they announced, I think, a month ago. That's like it reminds me a lot of Watch Dogs, where you can go into someone else's game and like raid their tower and like mess their stuff up. And like apparently microtransactions can put you ahead of gameplay of doing the multiplayer stuff. That kind of stuff I have a problem with. But if it's just like weird, like cosmetic, like colors or like types of ships or whatever, like I don't.
Here's
care.
the other thing that I would kill for them to introduce to Destiny that they had in Destiny 1. The ability to pay $20 and level up your character all the way. No, I would do that in a heartbeat. Yeah. Like, I hate grinding. It doesn't give you all the light. It doesn't hit you. You don't hit 305. Yeah. You just don't have to play the story. And it was like...
But here's why they won't do that is because there's three of the trophies are to basically go through the story 3 times.
They'll do it. Yeah. 100% they'll do it next DLC. Yeah, they'll do it the next DLC, 100%. Okay. But because then it's like a great way to get people into the game. Yeah. But like if I could power level, if I could pay $40 extra right now to have a fully maxed out or a level 20 Titan and a level 20 Warlock with all my story missions complete, I would do it like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting take. Yeah, I can't really speak to Forza just because I don't even really play Forza games either, so I
play Forza every once in a while.
I don't know, like, sort of like if it changes anything. I was trying to read up on it, and I couldn't really make anything out that sticks out differently than other games that do microtransactions and loot boxes like that. So if you have like a perspective on it, definitely leave it in the comments below or tweet at us.
Cam said he asked you a question. Did you see that one? Because he tweeted to me. Cam said that he might have asked.
Oh yeah. So Cam just wanted me to show the Red Hood figure. And then he wanted you to wink at the camera. There you go, camera Abbott. There you go.
Abbott, good friend of mine. We beat the raid with him for the first time this week.
Woo! That's all the questions we got this week, Sean.
Cool. Thank you guys, of course, for being a part of the show. If you want to be part of the show, tweet us the day that we record when we ask for the questions, or you can tweet us during the week. A lot of the times I'll remember. I'll screenshot them and send them to Barrett because he's super responsible. Yeah. And if you guys want to support us, make sure you go to my pinned tweet at Sean Twisters and buy a t-shirt. T-shirts are still available.
Teespring.com/YourLifeT.
New colors coming soon. New mic coming in soon. By the way, we're doing new colors. I just decided that right now.
Thanks.
We're going to do a half black, half white.
I don't know if that's possible on the website.
Or, I don't know. What colors do you guys want to see? What colors would you buy?
Yes.
Let us know.
Leave those in the comments below and tweet them.
You can tweet me at Sean Twisters. You can tweet or Instagram me, whatever. It's all good, girl. You do what you want to do, Cam. You can tweet at Barrett at Bananler Chung. Or you can tweet at Danny Juarez, our new producer, at Stoked Dan with 2 Ks.
Stoked Danny.
2 Ks. Yeah.
2D. It's Stoked Danny with 2 Ds.
I have never looked at Danny's.
It'll be in the description below.
I have never looked at Danny's Twitter handle in my life.
Do you not follow Danny?
No, when's he leaving?
Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us this week.
Yeah.
I was pointing for you to take the lead on and close it out.
Bye.
Hit the music.
Hit the music. Eek Papa Durkle. New episode of Zero Life. Hey, how's it going? I'm Sean. It's a weekly talk show. This is Barrett.
No, let's try
Yeah.
that again. Let's try
No,
that
that's
again.
it. That's the intro. What's
Do
up?
it. Do it again. I just wasn't expecting it.
Do you know what that's from?
Is that from Rick and Morty?
Yeah.
Okay.
Eek Papa Dorkle. Someone's going to get laid in college.
Yeah. Do it again.
All right. Hold on. I'm laughing now.
He's got the giggles.
You can't say that word. Saying I got the giggles gives me the giggles. That's Danny Morris in here. It's gonna be a never-ending chain.